Now, look at verse 1. Verily, thus saith the Lord unto you, whom I love. And then he pauses. This is almost a parenthetical statement here. And whom I love, I also chasten, that their sins may be forgiven. For with the chastisement I prepare a way for their deliverance in all things out of temptation, and I have loved you. It's this beautiful companionship that he puts together, this principle of, if I love you, I'm going to chasten you. I'm going to help you find cleanliness from your sins, forgiveness of your sins. But that doesn't come by constantly just patting you on the back and saying, hey, keep up the good work, don't change anything.
So it's an interesting word here, because we know the word chaste, which means to be like pure. And actually the word pure comes from the word fire. It means we're purified by fire. Chastening literally means to be pure. So God is trying to purify us, which means he has to burn out the dross, which is a little bit painful. And I know I want in my own life, I want God to purify me, but sometimes it's pretty painful. I'm like, is there a way you can do this when it's not so difficult, that it doesn't feel like chastening? But it's this beautiful word that he wants us to be chaste, and so he chastens us.
It's beautiful. This reminds me, Taylor, of Enos, chapter 1, verse 1, when he says that he had benefited from the nurture and admonition of the Lord. The nurture is that soft, congratulatory, encouraging side, and then the admonition is that correction, that rebuke, that disciplining side, that we need both. And by the way, have you noticed in your own life that sometimes it's those difficult, purifying, fire, chastening moments of life that are the most painful, that actually turn out, once the pain is gone, that turn out to be, in hindsight, some of the most cherished and shaping experiences of our life, where we actually learn significantly more at times than if it's always patting on the back, well done, thou good and faithful servant kinds of moments.
Well, it makes me think about this faithful brother who you talked about, who had some difficult life circumstances, but he had been chastened, and what he had learned was that God still loved him. God still loves all of us. He was still under construction. His testimony is under construction. And it makes me think about the analogy, of the metaphor of a sculptor who can see the beautiful statue that's within the rock. And the rock probably, if it had feelings, doesn't like being chiseled and hammered so that the beautiful image that is in there can be released. And that's what God is doing for us. That's what God was doing for this lovely brother who gave this amazing testimony, doing for all of us. And as humans, as fallen nature, we sometimes wish it would be a little bit easier, that we would just plop out fully formed and not to have all that chiseling and hammering and the chastening. And yet God, in his loving kindness, will remind us that his role is to help us become like him. And this is all part of the plan. And so when things get hard, we shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't say, woe is me, or all is lost. Just say, God is doing his work with me, and I can be part of this work.
Interesting. So instead of, what you're saying here, perhaps instead of scratching our heads saying, why me? Why all these bad things happening to me? Maybe the better question would be to ask, Lord, what would thou have me learn from this? Because chastening doesn't have to be punitive in nature. It can be very shaping.